What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Unsolved Enigma. This is the holiday edition, part two. We'll start it off with a missing murder case for the last episode because we had one more, and then we're going to go into the disappearances. So, y'all ready for this one?
Also, we had this entire thing recorded, so it would be posted on Christmas Day with the other one, and my file got corrupted and wouldn't let me post it. So we're re-recording, and it's going to be posted like the morning after Christmas.
So we're going to get into it with this one, and this one's going to take place on Christmas Eve of 2008. And this one is going to take place in Covina, California. It's Santa, the Santa of Covina. That's what it is. So this one is deals with a guy named Bruce Pardo, and he and his ex-wife, I guess around that time they ended up separating, and he just was like all distraught and upset and all this, that, and the third, and he ended up on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, she had a family gathering, and it was like 25 people or so, and he dressed up like Santa, went over there and went on a shooting spree.
So there was 25 people inside, and he ended up killing 9 people, including his ex-wife, her 2 brothers and their spouses, her sister, and her nephew.
All right, so we're going to get started on the disappearance cases now. And this one's going to take place in West Virginia in around 1945. Now this one deals with the Sada family, and this one is George and Jeannie were the parents, and then there was 9 out of the 10 kids that they had. One kid was away in
the army.
The army, okay, he was away at the army. So around like 1 a.m. a fire started. Nobody really knows how. So George and Gina woke up and they tried to get everybody out of the house.
He had 2 coal trucks, and the day before they had been working just fine. So he thought,
coal trucks? Oh, well, West Virginia, I guess they had coal mines out there.
He thought, okay, let me go get a truck and drive it out to the house and just climb on top of it and go through the window. But when he went to get the trucks, neither of them would start, even though they were perfectly fine the day before. Then he tried to scoop water from a rain barrel, but it was frozen solid, being that it was December.
Yeah. West Virginia too. I bet you they probably had a snowstorm or something soon.
So this fire started at 1 a.m. and his daughter went to the neighbors to try and call the fire department, but couldn't get any operator response. And then a neighbor went to a nearby tavern and tried to call, and also couldn't get any operator response. So by the time they were able to get a hold of the fire department and get somebody out there, it was 8 a.m. when they all showed up. So 7 hours later. And the Sodders' home had burned to the ground.
Oh yeah, at that point, you already know.
Right? And there were no remains found, but what was odd is that the blaze was not burning hot enough to fully cremate the bodies, like bones included. So there should have been some type of remains.
So I'm wondering, were they missing? Did he realize they were missing like in the middle of the fire, or did they all leave out of the house and then they went missing?
No, in the middle of the fire, everybody was asleep. So they got, I'm guessing because they had so many kids, half slept upstairs, and then they had rooms downstairs, and they had a basement too.
Okay.
So they got out with four of their kids, and he went back in to get the rest, and that they were nowhere to be found.
That's weird.
Right? And the state police inspector claimed that the fire was due to faulty wiring, and they issued death certificates for the 5 children that were missing.
Even though there were no bodies.
Yeah.
Now, the odd thing is, months prior, strangers appeared at the house a few months ago asking for hauling work, because I guess they had like property, like, you know, farming and stuff like that, or lumber, something of that nature. And the guy came over there, and he was asking for hauling work. So when the guy pointed at the junction box, he looked at it and said, "That's going to start a fire someday." And George has just had somebody look at it prior and was like, "No, it's fine. And he don't worry about it. I got it." So then around the same time, another guy came by selling insurance.
Life insurance.
Yeah, life insurance. So around the time that the insurance salesman was trying to do his little sales pitch, whatever, Jordan ended up denying it. And then he looked at him and said, "Your whole entire house is going to go up in goddamn smoke, and your children are going to be destroyed." I don't know about y'all, but that would have set me off. He wouldn't have been
I
able to
knocked
leave.
him out.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to leave my property.
And
Not
then,
willingly. He would have had EMT would have had to take him out of there.
and George and his family were Italian immigrants. So the other comment that the guy made was, "You are going to be paid for the dirty remarks you have been making about Mussolini." So George had been outspoken about Mussolini, but he, for whatever reason, didn't take this guy's threat seriously.
How did he know he made? How did he know that he was
Exactly.
out? That he spoke out again? You know what I mean about
Against Mussolini. Yeah, exactly. The older Sauter sons also noticed that right before Christmas, there was a man parked along US Highway 21 watching the younger kids as they came home from school.
Getting off the bus, man. If y'all see some people just hanging around there, you know they ain't got no kids at that bus stop. Check them, yeah.
Right.
Check them. I'm trying to tell you, bro. I'll be out my neighborhood like, who are you?
So there was obviously a whole slew of odd things that happened in the month before. So after the fire, repairmen told the Sauters that their lines looked to have been cut, not burned. And if it was faulty wiring, the power would have been completely dead. But
there was power still in the bottom level during the fire.
Exactly. So it couldn't have been completely faulty wiring.
So the insurance salesman that got into it with George, he was a member of the coroner's jury that deemed it fire accidental. You know what I mean? Like, nobody finds... this is the 40s. I don't think they really wanted to pay too much attention to it. But now, I'm looking at all this like, bruh, something ain't right. Yeah, there's no way.
Then you have the police chief, F.J. Morris, who admitted that he had discovered a heart in the ashes. Because, the bones wouldn't have made it, but a heart would have. Come on. Hid it in a dynamite box and buried it at the scene. He was hoping that the finding any remains would stop the family. It would get the family to stop the investigation.
He was trying to get over that. He was trying to get out of that paperwork.
And so the family had filed, or had hired an investigator, and the investigator...
Side note, I wonder if the police chief and the insurance guy knew each other.
Probably, especially if it's a small town.
During all this, nobody still has any idea where those 5 kids are.
No, they're still missing. Nobody knows if they actually did die, and God knows what happened to their remains, if they disappeared or what. So, unfortunately, all these years later, that case is still unsolved. So next we're going to do the Fort Worth missing trio, and this is a case of 3 girls that went missing on December 23rd of 1974. So the 3 girls that went missing were Mary Rachel Trillica, who was 17 years old, and she was married at this age, which I guess is normal during that time. Lisa Renee Wilson, who was 14, and Julie Ann Mosley, who was 9. And they went missing from the Seminary South Shopping Center in Fort Worth, Texas, while Christmas shopping.
Range of the ages that be hanging out with each other.
Their 1972 Oldsmobile that they were driving was left behind.
On December 23rd, 1974, right before noon, they left to go Christmas shopping, and Julie's mom said that they wanted her home by 6, and Renee wanted to be back by 4 because she had a Christmas party to go to, family stuff and stuff like that. So they went to the Army Navy store first, and then they went to a Seminar South shopping center. And the witnesses had seen the girls in the mall that day. Girls didn't return home. Parents headed up to the mall at 6, and they didn't see the girls, but they did see the Oldsmobile still parked in the parking lot with all of the gifts that they had bought earlier that day still there. Now, me being a parent, I would have instantly... I'm not letting my kids go to the mall that young anyway.
No way.
Hell no.
Not now, but again, my parents
I was about to say they let me go when I was younger.
The kids do at this age, like at this.
But I know the mischief I got into when I was younger. That's why I'm hitting. Nope, we go together.
Like many of the cases we've covered so far, they were presumed to be runaways by the police initially. Trying to further back up this claim, there was a note in Rachel's husband's mailbox the next day saying, "I know I'm going to catch it, but we had to get away. We're going to Houston. See you in about a week." the cars in Sears' upper lot love Rachel. But there was a lot of discrepancies with the note that didn't match up with Rachel. So the families didn't believe it was written by her, and they also didn't believe that the girls had run away.
Not to mention, if she would have had time to just drop that note off and leave, why would she have just left her car there?
Exactly.
For one.
Also,
And
how
two,
did they get there?
Whoever took them, how did you know to leave a note in that mailbox?
Somebody that knew.
Exactly. It was somebody who had to have been close to them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So, in early 1975, one man claiming to be a friend of Rachel's came forward and said that he did see them.
Excuse me for yawning.
That he did see them in the record department of the store in the mall just before they disappeared. And he spoke briefly with Rachel, and that there was another person that appeared to be with the girls.
Did they say? I wonder if they said if it was male or female.
Not that I saw, at least.
So, spring of 75. Nothing still came about of anything. So the families hired P.I. John Swaim. I believe that's how you pronounce it. So Swaim discovered that a 28-year-old man was making a ton of obscene phone calls in the area using his position in the mall to obtain information from young women. I guess mainly through applying from like job applications. Yeah. And stuff like that. So he would act like, yeah, I'll hire you on the spot. And I mean, back then, you a young teenage girl, of course you're gonna want a job, get your money. You can buy your own stuff, So he's getting all their information and their addresses, phone numbers, probably, and I believe he was harassing them from what this guy said.
He also lived in the neighborhood of Rachel's parents at one point, but even though this guy was a creep, nothing came of it.
We don't have his name either.
Tying him to the case.
So, and then April of that year, 75, Swaim and about 100 plus volunteers were searching under bridges, in and out of areas after getting tips saying that they were killed and then dumped, and nothing ended up coming about that. So about a year later, 3 skeletons were found in a field outside of I'm going to make sure I say this right. Alvord, Texas. And unfortunately, the remains did not belong to the 3 girls, so the search still continued on.
In 1979, Swaim died from overdose, and he ordered that all of his files on this case be destroyed, which we thought was really weird, because why not turn them over to the family? Or it just was bizarre that he was specific about this case.
First of all, who did he order to destroy him? For one. Second of all, if anybody's going to go over any information before they destroy it, they're not just going to be like, I take your word for it and just throw it away and destroy it, let it go. You know what I mean? So that whole thing didn't seem right to me at all.
Me neither.
None of it at all. And whoever destroyed him, shame on you for not
turning it over.
That case is still open to this day.
It was reopened in January of 2001 and assigned to homicide detective Tom Bocher. He believes that the girls left the mall with someone that they trusted and believes that there was more than one person involved, which would make sense because they walked to the car and put their gifts in the car and everything, and there wasn't any signs of a struggle, so they could have easily hopped in the car with somebody they knew and disappeared.
So the next one takes place in New Year's 74. Well, take that on Christmas, New Year's of 84. And this deals with the guy named Samuel Ty by the age of 24, and he was a Yale divinity student. And he disappeared early New Year's morning by leaving a party supposedly at 2 a.m. because he said he needed some fresh air.
And was going for a jog.
At 2 a.m. on New Year's, he wants to go for a jog. I think he was under the influence of something.
He left his wallet and jacket at the party, and so he didn't have any ID or cash on him. The family reported him missing the next day, and over 200 volunteers began to look through New York for him, and there was no trace of him anywhere. So authorities believe that maybe he had been assaulted and struck on his head and suffered from amnesia and just didn't know where he was or who he was or whatever.
Which this is plausible. It could happen.
Yeah.
But possible issues was relating to him.
Like personally
was he wasn't doing so well in school. He had financial problems. He was struggling. He ended a relationship with his girlfriend. The parents stated that he was happy, but I mean, he was going through typical
Yeah.
mid
Just
twenties
things that you
drama. You
struggle
know what I
with.
mean? Trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do, fucking going job to job, figuring out if your girlfriend's the one. I mean, we've all
Going
been
through
there.
college.
Yeah, we've all been there. You know what I mean? But they don't believe he just up and left on his own. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Especially because he's broke. I mean, where is he going to go with no money? So they had a couple theories about what could have happened to him.
One was he ran away and tried to start a new life. 2 was
he was abducted.
3 was he was murdered. 4 he was
committed suicide, or that he was injured with amnesia, like the prior thing. So this does still remain unsolved. He was never found. No remains were ever found. So
in the case,
it's still open because it is unsolved. So
yeah. I don't know. I think it might have had somebody, whatever party he was at, did they look into all of that. We're going to get to this next one, though. And this one deals with this lady named Patty Vaughn.
So Patty and her husband separated in October of 1996, and she began to date one of her former boyfriends. And her...
Old flame.
Yeah, her soon-to-be ex-husband found out.
Like that.
Yeah, he did not like that at all, and they got into an argument about it at her home on December 25th of 1996. Patty disappeared that day between 6 and 8 p.m., and she was never seen again.
Husband said that she left the house alone and vanished, but the day after that, ironically, he filed for divorce.
Instead of reporting her missing.
Yeah, instead of reporting her missing, I mean... Not sticking up for him or anything, but if they separated and he supposedly knew she had a boyfriend, he could have been like, you know what, I'm done with it. She could have stayed at her boyfriend's house and then left him with the kids. So he was like, fuck it, I'm done. And then went to go file for divorce. I don't know. That's just, you know what I mean? That's just one way to look at it. But
her family reported her missing.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely weird. You know what I mean? The timing of it. So around the same time he filed for the divorce, her family went and filed that she was missing. Her vehicle was discovered abandoned with a flat tire on December 26th, and then tests showed that it was intentionally deflated. So somebody probably either cut the tire, or they, you know what I mean, like on the sidewall, they knew it was with a knife, or they took out the valve stem and just let it, you know what I mean, air itself out. So that right there piqued everybody's interest, and they knew that she didn't just get up and walk away. Right.
There was strangely a pile of men's clothing in the back of her van, along with a red workman's jumpsuit with the letters JM on the back, but they never really touched on
Joe Mama. No, I'm just playing.
On whose clothes it was or anything like that. There was blood found inside of Patty's van, and then also on the walls and floor of her bedroom at her house, and on a mop inside of the house.
She was still living with her husband, though, wasn't she?
No, they were living separately at that point.
Okay.
The van's carpet had also been shampooed recently and was still wet, and DNA testing did prove that it was Patty's blood.
In the car and the house.
So Patty's mom... right on to her mom. She thought that the ex-husband was involved. So she broke into his house and she beat the shit out of him with a baseball bat in February of 97.
Goddamn right.
They did charge her, but still, kudos, because I would be doing the same thing and I know my mama would be too. So her ex-husband now lives in Colorado with their 3 kids and maintains his innocence and thinks that she left him on purpose. And he had her declared legally dead in 2005. And following that, Patty's mother filed a wrongful death suit against him.
So in December of 2008, investigators stated that JR was still the primary suspect, but believed that 3 family friends helped dispose of the body. And foul play was definitely suspected.
Especially with all the blood.
Yeah, but her body has never been located. No arrests still haven't been made, and the case is still unsolved.
I think your ex did it.
I think so too. But I want to know what made them think that 3 family members helped.
I know it was new evidence, but they didn't release what it was.
Yep. See, that's another reason why I'm looking into it. So we'll move on to the next case. So this one takes place with Jared Betterson and Barbara Nicole Nicole's mother was killed in a car accident when she was 2 years old. After her death, Jared began dating another woman, and I believe that's
Barbara.
Betty, Barbara. I don't know. All the names sound the same. So Nicole's mother's parents last saw her around Christmas of '77, and Jared announced he and his new girlfriend were moving out west. Now, where did they say originally?
They didn't say. They didn't specify where they were moving. They just said out west.
Yeah.
The Klingels were the last name of Nicole's grandparents.
The Klingels sound a lot like the Kringles, and that's ironic because this is a Christmas song.
So the Klingels never heard from them again after they said they were moving west. So they got a little curious and a little suspicious, and they hired a PI and
I'm in the wrong business. Them PIs making a lot of money on this episode.
And found that Jarrett and Barbara, who were now married, were living in poverty and poor health in Vegas. And there was absolutely no trace of Nicole except for the Social Security orphans benefits that she was getting every month. Her father picked them up every month until she turned 18 years old, or until she would turn 18 years old. So the Las Vegas Police Department opened an investigation and discovered that there was no evidence that she was alive after she left Michigan.
Yep. So November of '97, the detective visited Jared, and they were, questioning him and stuff, and he lied, claiming that he would tell people what happened to Nicole if they promised him leniency. And he would give up, the whole story, this and the third. So he promised to call the detectives and confess to what happened to his daughter. 10 days went by, no call. So they tried to call him again. So when they called, the 10 days went by, and they never got anything out of him. So they called him back again, and he said he needed more time. And then ever since then, they never heard from him again. He was never able to be contacted. So since they couldn't get in contact with him anymore, they decided to do a check on him. So they went to the house to go get him and stuff. And that's when they found out that he had shot his wife to death and then himself.
So before their deaths, Barbara mailed a letter to Nicole's grandmother, the Klingels, asking for forgiveness for, quote, all the wounds we have put in your hearts with our tragic and youthful blunders. And she also included...
Sounds like a confession.
Right. Well, she also included a money order for $900 to pay for her and Jarrett's cremation. So this was premeditated that they were going to...
Kill themselves.
Foul play was suspected, and the case remains unsolved. Nicole was never found.
They probably were on drugs, and something probably happened to her, and they freaked out and just got rid of the body.
Yeah, especially there's so much desert and stuff in Vegas. I mean, she could be anywhere, which is really sad. So she was never found, and the case is still unsolved. Lastly, we have Lee Wackerhagen.
So Lee and his son... Chance disappeared from Lockhart, Texas in December of '93. So Lee and Chance's mother were divorced, and she had the primary custody, and Chance was spending the holidays with the dad. I guess that's how the visitation was working out. And he spoke to the mom on Christmas Day and asked if he could stay a few days longer with his dad. She said yeah, and to call her later so they could set up a time and arrangement for him to get dropped off at home. So once she got off the phone with him, little did she know that would have been the last time that she would ever hear from him.
So the day after Christmas, Lee and Chance were seen eating dinner at a restaurant in town, and that was the last reported sighting of them. Lee's girlfriend, they lived together, was found murdered in their apartment on December 27th and was thought to have been killed in her sleep the day prior. She was shot 6 times in the head with a .22 caliber revolver. There was no sign of struggle. Nothing was missing, but they did find Chance's footprint in blood at the crime scene.
Like a shoe print or like his footprint?
I don't know. It's just a footprint.
That's
awful.
No kid should have to see anything like that. So Lee had a green 1986 Ford truck, which was found abandoned in Austin, Texas, 3 days after the girlfriend's murder. So they found an unfired rifle. They didn't say what the caliber of the rifle was. They found his checkbook, his wallet, toolbox, spare tire, and then etc. Then they also found a blood-stained Christmas gifts.
The blood did not belong to his ex-girlfriend.
So 4 months later, Chance's grandfather on the mom's side got an anonymous call from a caller saying, "Help me." Then the line went dead. The call was never traced, and they originally believed that may have been the grandson. Nothing came of it. So it was originally believed that Lee murdered White and then fled with his son. It was allegedly it was said that he had temper problems and he had anger issues and short temper and stuff like that. The ex didn't believe he would harm Chance. Warrants issued for his arrest and charges for murder, interference with custody, and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. So I just wanted to make sure I got all those. He remained active, but no sign of Lee or his son.
And it is worth noting, his ex is the one that said he had a violent temper and he had anger issues, but she still didn't think that he would harm their child.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at. I just wanted to make sure I got the facts out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spring of 2016, authorities said that they had evidence that Lee and Chance were victims of foul play. No sign of their whereabouts since '93. They didn't really say
why they switched.
Yeah, they didn't say what the evidence was. They didn't say why or why they, you know what I mean, they switched to that. But they're now considered missing persons and possible homicide victims instead of foul play.
Well, they're still thinking foul play, but they're no longer thinking Lee is responsible for the foul play.
No, I'm saying yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Like they're saying there's something up with him now. There's foul play going on with them.
Yeah.
Do you wonder if they think something happened to White and them?
Yeah,
I think so. So both of those are tied to each other.
I think that's where they're going, just because they were literally at the same time.
Yeah.
So it does remain unsolved, and Lee and Chance are unfortunately still missing.
So if you have any, any ideas, or if y'all may have seen any of these people, or y'all have heard of any of these cases and y'all have any information,
we'll leave information on who to contact if you know anything. So that wraps up part 2 of our Christmas murder mysteries. We hope everybody had a great Christmas and that you enjoy watching these videos.
Make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe buttons, like in the notification button. We do try to upload once a week, but lately, with the holidays, it's been a little
crazy.
So hopefully we'll get back on the schedule and get everything back in the swing of everything. Thank y'all again for tuning in with us. We love y'all.
Also, if you have any cases you want us to cover or look into, leave a comment with any suggestions and leave us a comment on what you think about these cases.
Yep. So hope y'all have a good holiday, rest of y'all holiday. Happy New Year's if y'all don't tune in on us next time. And we'll see y'all again soon.
Merry Christmas.
Laters.
Bye.